Just say it, man. Don't make me ask 20 questions.
What is the point?
Get to the point.
Just say it already.
Welcome to the Podcram. Here are a bunch of inspirational and thought-provoking clips from Chris WIlliamson and guests of his Modern Wisdom podcast.
It's all out there for the taking right now. If you have a gram of talent and an ounce of hard work, you'll run these pussies over. The bar has never been set lower. Whatever it is that you're worried about, think about how fragile the average person is and realize that half of the population is more fragile than that. Taking the path that everybody else chooses may seem like the safe option, but it's actually a guaranteed route to a life that you probably don't want. I don't think there's ever been a time where there's been more opportunity and a lower degree of competition. I really don't like people that use the word like it was meant to be, because it completely removes the agency from the situation. Okay, you get into a car accident, you lose one of your legs, and you meet the love of your life, who's the nurse that treats you while you're in the hospital bed. You get married and you live a lovely life together. It was meant to be. Had it not been for that accident, I would have never met the love of my life. Okay, how about this? You were in a shitty situation and you managed to alchemize it from lead into gold. You managed to turn something that could have been a destitute situation into one that was beautiful and one of the most important things that's happened in your life. And that's a much more powerful story. And I think internalizing this locus of control, super important. And not being too concerned about, fuck, I'm going through something bad. All right, this is maybe your hero story, right? Like, this is main character energy fuel for you. Just that reactivity point. What's bad about being reactive? Why does that not fit into an essentialist's worldview?
Well, I mean, let's start with this, right? Like, I haven't named this law. You and I are going to name this law, maybe. And it's this, that the highest priority today is the least likely thing to happen. So that's the strangest thing, and I stand by that. I believe that's a law, at least a law in this era. It might be that it's a natural law and it's just a human bias that's, just really challenging to overcome. But when I go through a planning process in the day and I've identified the priority, when I look at it, I think there's no way that would have happened today. It doesn't even always happen after I've defined it. I might not even make any progress on it today. But I'm like, if I hadn't defined it, there's no way I would have made any progress. Like, we react to either complete trivia, right? The trivial many, or maybe to important things, or maybe to urgent things. But the essential, the most important thing, the most important relationship, that is never the thing that happens first, unless you make it so.
Everybody's read, there's one canonical biography of Rockefeller called Titan. It's like 800 pages. It's great. That's fine. I've read it like 2 times. Rockefeller's the man, right? But I went through the biography or the bibliography, and I discovered books were made out of books. And so I found this obscure biography published in like 1970. And now you try to get the book, and it's like $4,000 because all these books are out of print. And it's in there, and it's 250 pages, right? There's a longer thing here where I think it's slothful not to compress your thoughts. That's like Churchill would say stuff like that.
What was that thing about, sorry, I wrote you such a long letter. If I'd only had more time, I could have written you a shorter one.
I think it's disrespectful to people to not, like, think about if you want a high value audience and you're saying, hey, I can tell a story in an hour and a half, or I could tell a story in 45 minutes, but I took an hour and a half. I just stole 45 minutes of your life that you're not getting back, times that by however many people. Like, I spent an entire day, I mean, you've talked about this privately. One of the big breakthroughs I had is like spending an entire day before I sit down to record, just literally going through all my notes and highlights and just cutting. I never add. It's like, nope, ruthlessly cut. Try to respect the people's time. But anyways, I think authors should do that. I like Titan. Do I need to know what the furniture's like in his grandfather's house? No, I do not. I want to know how he built maybe the greatest business has ever existed. And so this book is 250 pages of how he built Standard Oil. It's called John D., the founding father of the Rockefellers. I know friends that have literally bought the book because they heard the episode and they spent $2,000 because it's like, this is the guy. Like, there's an idea worth billions in a $2,000 history book. And so in that book, it's all secrecy covered everything. Essentially saying, hey, you don't understand how lucrative this is, and I'm not going to educate my competition.
I guess another insight was I'd had a bunch of conversations about the challenges that men and women face in the modern world, and I realized how rarely pro-male and pro-female activists are prepared to genuinely accept that the other sex may encounter difficulties without measuring it against their own suffering. There is an assumption that any attention paid toward men takes it away from women or some other minority group who is more deserving, and vice versa. It's a zero-sum view of empathy. And obviously, this is not how empathy works. Rather, it indicates just how broken the conversation around men and women is, that care for people who are struggling in life is seen as a fucking finite resource. Women can point to how men don't need to fear sexual assault as much, and men can point to how women don't need to fear Me Too allegations, but men hold more CEO positions, but women are graduating college at higher rates, but there's more male homelessness, but there's more women in sex work. It's like both sides are trying to balance some bizarre simultaneous social justice equation. Like how many false allegations are worth a sexual assault? How many female graduates are worth a male CEO? The entire conversation is basically saying, my privilege is more oppressed than your privilege. It's like victimhood masquerading as arithmetic. And it's entirely based on a flawed premise because the complexity of the truth is inconvenient for both sides. There is no equating the suffering of one group to another, and perceiving the discussion in this way causes everyone to enter the frame incorrectly as adversaries. Accepting the challenges of one group does not disable attention from being paid to another. And similarly, it shouldn't be the case that a discussion about men's troubles should first be hedged with fucking groveling caveats about how we know that women face a myriad of problems too, lest the position be seen as myopic misogyny. Zero-sum empathy is one of the most boring and narcissistic things that keeps on happening, and it's done over and over again, and it achieves nothing except for pushing both groups apart from each other. Another lesson from Tim Ferriss this year, he had this great insight, which was don't aim for mediocre. 99% of people in the world are convinced that they're incapable of achieving great things, so they aim for the mediocre. The level of competition is thus fiercest for realistic goals, paradoxically making them the most time and energy consuming. If you are insecure, guess what? The rest of the world is too. Do not overestimate the competition and underestimate yourself. George Mack, who has been on the show 8 times, I think, maybe more, he said, there is a guy out there with half your talent but 10 times your self-belief making 5 times the money. There is a guy out there with half your talent but 10 times your self-belief making 5 times the money. And it's so true. People that just swing for the fences. Bezos said in a shareholder letter that I really appreciated. He said, we are working to build something important, something that matters to our customers, something that we can tell all of our grandchildren about. Such things aren't meant to be easy. But that shareholder letter was in 1997. So he is in the eating glass staring into the abyss period right then. And we are working to build something important, something that matters to our customers, something that we can tell all our children about. Such things aren't meant to be easy. So I think accepting the pain, accepting the difficulty that's going to come along with whatever it is that you're trying to do is probably the first or one of the most important things. It's something I wish that I'd done previously. Again, going back to that there are no solutions, only trade-offs idea, that railing against how hard something is or how much time it's taking up or the difficulty or the inefficiency or the fact that you don't know how to do it or the fact that you don't have a hire that can sort it or the fact that people around you don't believe you or that no one's giving you the support that you want or that you thought it wouldn't take this long. The fact that that is happening is par for the course. It is the price of doing business. It's the cost of entry for whatever the thing is that you're going about, because if it wasn't, it wouldn't be happening. And so much of the pain, as far as I can see, is you railing against the fact that there are difficulties. Great insight from Rangan Chatterjee was the more that somebody complains, the less accurate their perspective of the world is. So a complaint is you saying, why is the world not behaving in the way that I expected it to? Which essentially identifies that you don't have an accurate model of the way that the world works. There are going to be problems continuously for the rest of time, and there will never be a day when you don't wake up and have to mediate or negotiate or cajole your way through something. Okay? So given the fact that these things are fucking unavoidable, why are you complaining about them? And why are you so surprised when they happen? So yes, I think such things aren't meant to be easy is a nice little reminder.
Thanks for listening to this installment of The Podcram. I hope it contains something useful for you. If you enjoy these selections and are curious about the curator's own thoughts, you can check out my other podcast, Psychic Lube, where I share concise concepts meant to grease the intellectual gears and help get your creative juices flowing. Each episode is an ongoing collaborative project that welcomes listeners to expand or rebut its points by email or comment, the most interesting of which get incorporated through periodic re-recordings. As always, if you're intrigued by today's content, I encourage you to go listen to the full podcast in its original form directly from its creators so that their sponsors keep paying them to make stuff for us and nobody feels compelled to sue me for copyright infringement. Now, get off your phone and go do smart stuff. Have a productive day.